This video is intended to help remind you of the most crucial steps in your pack job. If you want to watch my full packing video, go to baseguiding.com and go to the video page. You should already know how to pack before watching this video. This is just a reminder if you are not current, or if you want to know a little more of the whys behind the hows. Skipping these steps, or not doing them correctly, can lead to malfunctions. I give video examples of the potential malfunctions in each case, but in these examples, specifically the tension knots, it's impossible to say for certain what caused them to happen. Unfortunately, even if you do everything perfectly, there is still a chance that everything can go wrong. This is the uncomfortable reality of the game we play. Your brake settings dictate how much tail deflection your canopy will have on deployment, which controls your forward speed and helps everything take shape. Some people set their brakes at the beginning of their pack job and some set them later. Regardless of when you do it, it's important to make sure you untwist your brake lines first. For this reason, I don't think it's a good idea to set them in the landing area. Even if you land clean, the canopy doesn't fall on your head, and the risers are not twisted. It's a good habit to not set them right away. Making sure the lines have no twists in them before you set the brakes is a good way to help prevent tension knots. After untwisting at the cascades, run the twist back to the toggles. If you route your brakes outside the guide rings, first, take the white loop on your riser and pass it through the brake setting, then through the ring, and then pass your toggle through the white loop and into the stow. Mate the Velcro from top to bottom, then stow your excess line into the stow band on the back of the riser or into the Velcro pocket on the side. To take the slack out of the white loop, grab the brake line and pull up towards the canopy. If you set your brakes incorrectly, you could potentially lose both toggles on deployment. If you route your brakes inside the guide rings for slider down jumps, pull the line through the ring just past the brake setting. Pass the toggle through the brake setting and into the stow. Mate the Velcro, and stow the excess the same as the previous step. If you route your brake lines through the rings, it's recommended you have line release toggles, so in the event of a line over, you can get rid of that line. Your tailgate helps to slightly delay the opening of your tail during deployment. A good deployment looks like this. You can see the nose of the canopy is completely open and the tail is still closed. It happens quickly, but it's a good thing to be aware of and to know what it looks like. To set the tailgate, start by taking your inner C line, which has the tailgate on it, and ensure that the white loop is on the bottom. Colors may vary depending on the manufacturer. Take the D line directly above it and place it inside. Then take the opposite C line and the D line above that one and place those inside. Next, grab each set of control lines and add them to the pile. All the lines in the tailgate should be the same color, which will be different to the rest of the lines on your canopy. Pass a small rubber band over the bundle and do 2 wraps. Some people use painter's tape, which also works fine. To verify that all the correct lines are in the tailgate, you can run them from the container up to the canopy while keeping your hands close to the ground. If you don't use a tailgate, or if it releases early, it looks like this. You can see that the tail of the canopy is open and the nose is still closed. When this happens, there is a possibility that your control lines can come around the front of the canopy and cause a line over. If your tail is releasing early, try doing an extra wrap on the rubber band. This is a delicate process because if you do too many wraps, you could have a tailgate hang-up which looks like this. Here you can see the tail of the canopy stays closed after deployment and will not release without active inputs from the jumper. It's also possible to have a partial hang-up where the tail opening is slightly delayed but releases without input from the jumper. Tailgate hang-ups usually happen on PCAs or unpacked jumps. So if you do add wraps for when you're free falling, be sure to remember so you can dial them back when necessary. Locking stow, primary stow, and indirect control are all terms to describe the same thing. Its purpose is to prevent an out-of-sequence deployment by keeping the canopy closed until you reach line stretch. If you do have an out-of-sequence deployment, your lines may get tangled and you risk having a tension knot. While tension knots slider down are very uncommon, they do happen, and we should do our best to prevent them from happening. To set the locking stow, take a bight of line about 1/2 to 3/4 the width of your tail pocket and wrap the rubber band around it twice. Then place it into the hole under your tail pocket. It's good practice to also make sure you maintain the Velcro on your tail pocket. When it gets old, it may open early and your lines can fall out. This is referred to as line dump. After you have done your final fold and are about to close your container, ensure that your bridle attachment point is clear and is centered in your pack job. If it is not clear and is hooked under one of the ears, it can potentially spin the pack job on deployment and cause an off-heading. While an off-heading is not necessarily a malfunction, it is typically something we want to avoid, especially when jumping solid objects. I hope you found this video helpful. See you next time.